The sky above Niralis burned crimson, a bleeding wound inflicted by endless orbital bombardments. Through drifting smoke and airborne embers, Commander Alara pressed her bruised hands against the shattered comms console. Sparks snapped angrily beneath her fingers, lighting her pale, determined face in brief bursts of orange and blue. Around her, the command bunker shuddered violently. Every strike from the Zorlak ships felt personal, each impact another jab at her failing resolve. "Commander," a gravelly voice called from across the room. Captain Torin limped forward, his golden scales marred with deep soot stains. One of his eyes had swollen shut, dried blood tracing pathways down his reptilian cheek. "The perimeter won't hold. Another strike, and we lose communication permanently." Alara met his gaze, a lifetime of war and sorrow passing between them in seconds. "Then we have only one option left." Torin hesitated, understanding blooming in his remaining good eye. "Commander, surely you can't mean." "The humans," Alara said firmly, her voice quiet but commanding. It silenced all objections. "We've exhausted every other ally." Captain Torin lowered his head. "They'll tear the stars apart to win, but can we trust they'll stop afterward?" Alara drew herself upright, hiding the exhaustion eating at her bones. "It's either the unknown or extinction. I'll take my chances with the unknown." Torin nodded solemnly and stepped aside, giving her space. Alara adjusted the frequency to a band she'd never used before, one universally known but universally avoided. Her heart quickened as she opened a channel. "This is Commander Alara of Niralis. We are under catastrophic assault by Zorlak forces. We request immediate aid. Humanity, this is our final call." Static followed, a relentless hiss punctuated by distant explosions. "They'll answer," Torin whispered quietly, though he sounded unconvinced. Alara stared at the speakers, willing them to respond. Minutes passed, dragging painfully forward. She steadied herself against the console, the edges biting painfully into her palms. Was this her legacy? A desperate plea lost in empty space? Suddenly, the static broke. A calm, steady voice echoed across the channel, low and powerful. "This is Admiral Isaac Grant, Terran Naval Fleet responding. Commander Alara, your call has been heard. Hold your position. We're coming in hot." Relief and fear mingled within Alara. The humans had answered. The legendary scourge that no empire dared challenge directly had agreed to aid them. "Understood, Admiral Grant." Coordinates transmitted. Alara paused, her voice nearly breaking with suppressed emotion. "Thank you." "Stay alive, Commander," Grant replied curtly. The channel clicked shut. Another rumbling explosion rattled the bunker, sending dust cascading from the cracked ceiling. Torin's communicator flared to life. He listened briefly, face tightening. Zorlak ground troops breached the outer walls. Defensive lines are collapsing fast. "We hold," Alara commanded sharply. She drew her sidearm, checking its charge. "We hold until humanity arrives." Torin smiled grimly, checking his weapon with practiced ease. "As always, Commander." Together, they raced toward the surface, passing wounded soldiers who clutched weapons and shaking hands, their eyes filled with desperate courage. Emerging from the darkened tunnels, Alara blinked hard against harsh daylight. The city lay in ruins, its proud towers shattered, streets reduced to rubble. Fires danced unchecked across devastated neighborhoods, smoke billowing upward in dark, choking plumes. Hundreds of Niralian defenders fought valiantly, retreating block by block against towering Zorlak warriors, hulking, armored brutes who cleaved effortlessly through Niralian ranks. Bodies littered the battlefield, testament to an overwhelming assault. Alara took cover behind a collapsed column, firing precise blasts at advancing enemies. Beside her, Torin expertly picked off targets. If humanity is coming, they better hurry. Above, another shadow fell. Alara glanced skyward, dread pooling deep in her stomach as a Zorlak dropship descended, disgorging reinforcements into their already shattered lines. A young Niralian soldier stumbled near Alara, bleeding badly, terror etched deeply into his features. "Commander." There are too many. We can't hold. Alara grabbed him by the shoulders, steadying him firmly. We must. Help is close. Fight. Strengthened by her resolve, the soldier nodded fiercely, rejoining the fray. Minutes blurred into a ceaseless storm of combat. Every second extracted a heavy toll. Alara fought mechanically, each kill hollow, yet necessary. She prayed silently, something she'd not done in years, whispering pleas to whatever gods might still listen. Commander. Ships incoming. Torin shouted urgently, his voice rising in shocked awe. Through smoke-filled skies, sleek silhouettes pierced clouds at staggering speeds. Dozens, no, hundreds, of dark human warships erupted from hyperspace, positioning themselves swiftly in orbit above the battlefield. Their angular designs spoke purely of aggression, each vessel bristling with intimidating weaponry. Within moments, brilliant beams sliced downward, vaporizing entire Zorlak battalions with surgical precision. Explosions erupted around them, the enemy scattering beneath relentless fire. Alara stood frozen momentarily, utterly captivated. From her wrist communicator came Admiral Grant's unwavering voice, now edged with fierce determination. Commander, orbital support deployed. Ground reinforcements inbound. Clear your front line, danger close. Understood. Alara shouted urgently, rallying remaining troops. Pull back. Now. They scrambled away from enemy lines, diving for cover as blinding plasma bolts obliterated Zorlak formations. Moments later, dropships emblazoned with the emblem of Earth landed rapidly, armored humans emerging with disciplined precision, swiftly securing perimeter positions. One human soldier approached Alara directly. He towered over her, armor gleaming, yet his movements displayed surprising gentleness as he offered a respectful salute. Commander Alara, Lieutenant Kai Nakamura. Admiral Grant sent us to secure your position. She returned the salute shakily, deeply affected by the overwhelming display of raw power and swift mercy. Lieutenant Nakamura, your arrival was timely. Kai smiled faintly beneath his visor. This is just the first wave. Earth stands with you until this war is won. Alara nodded, emotions surging within her chest, relief, gratitude, uncertainty, all entwined tightly. They'd gambled everything on humanity's unpredictable nature. For now, at least, they had chosen honor over conquest. She stared upward again, into skies no longer filled solely with despair, but illuminated by flames of liberation. Perhaps desperation truly had its purpose. Admiral Isaac Grant stood resolute on the bridge of the Terran battleship UES Indomitable, eyes fixed upon the blazing, battered world below. Each tactical display painted a grim picture of suffering. The Zorlak had been thorough. Even from orbit, the evidence of their cruelty was unmistakable, burning cities, fractured continents, and desperate defensive lines blinking rapidly across holoscreens. Report, Grant commanded coolly. Lieutenant Commander Arya Patel stepped forward, scanning her data tablet swiftly. Ground forces deployed successfully, sir. Niralis troops secured. We're suppressing enemy artillery positions. Casualties minimal, so far. Grant nodded briefly, gratitude flickering across his eyes. Maintain orbital fire. Give our teams breathing room. Contact Lieutenant Nakamura, I want precise updates. Yes, Admiral. Grant's gaze shifted toward the massive, shadowy dreadnought hovering menacingly over Niralis's northern hemisphere. Its jagged silhouette belonged unmistakably to Warlord Zax KYR himself, a name synonymous with terror throughout the quadrant. KYR's reputation was built upon broken worlds, today would not add another trophy to his savage collection. Open communications with Zax KYR, Grant said evenly. Silence momentarily swept the deck. Even seasoned crew members glanced up in disbelief. Patel hesitated, caution tempering her tone. Sir, KYR isn't known for diplomacy. Grant turned slowly toward her, expression steady, reassuring. Neither am I. A moment later, a screen flickered into clarity. Warlord Zax KYR appeared in monstrous detail, armored, colossal, face obscured beneath dark battle plating. When KYR spoke, his voice resonated deep, laden with disdainful arrogance. Humans. I expected your cowardice to keep you hidden on your pitiful world. Yet here you come, begging death. Grant's face remained utterly calm. Withdraw your forces immediately, KYR. Spare yourself further embarrassment. KYR tilted his head mockingly. Your bravado amuses me, Admiral. Niralis is mine. Soon Earth, too, will kneel. Grant smiled faintly, but his voice was ice. Humans don't kneel, KYR. You've tested weaker empires. You've never faced humanity unleashed. The Zorlak warlord laughed bitterly, dismissing the threat. Unleash whatever feeble weapons you possess. You'll find death awaits all who challenge the Zorlak. The screen abruptly darkened. Grant stared calmly forward, voice firm. Battle stations. Immediately, the bridge erupted into disciplined activity. Alerts pulsed quietly through consoles as crews adjusted formation. Maneuvers were precise, methodical, revealing practiced harmony. The Indomitable surged forward, flanked by 24 Terran destroyers bristling with weaponry. Grant watched silently, tension building beneath his composed exterior. It wasn't just a battle, it was a demonstration. The galaxy needed to understand humanity's strength. The Zorlak needed to remember it. As they drew nearer, the dreadnought opened fire, its weapons roaring silently through space. Missiles streamed from its flanks, gleaming like silver spears. Human vessels answered in kind, streams of laser fire sliced through the void, precise, relentless. Explosions blossomed brilliantly around them. Shields holding steady, Patel reported firmly. Target their propulsion systems, Grant ordered. Leave them drifting. Patel confirmed quickly, fingers flying across controls. Engaging now. The Indomitable's main cannon fired, a blinding streak of pure destructive energy punched into the dreadnought, tearing armor and systems apart. Debris cascaded outward in molten fragments. KYR's vessel listed violently, its control faltering. Enemy engines disabled, Patel announced triumphantly. Grant nodded calmly. Press the advantage. Push them away from Niralis. Dozens of human ships swarmed gracefully, breaking through enemy lines with lethal precision. They drove Zorlak frigates into disarray, methodically dismantling opposition without mercy or hesitation. Human coordination proved frighteningly efficient, tactical maneuvers executed with elegant lethality. An incoming hail flashed urgently. Grant accepted, relieved to hear Lieutenant Kai Nakamura's voice again. Admiral, Commander Alera is safe. Enemy ground resistance is retreating. Niralis soldiers are regrouping under our protection. Excellent work, Lieutenant, Grant replied, pride softening his professional demeanor. Secure the civilian sectors and prepare evacuation routes. Minimize losses. Yes, sir. Humanity's got their backs, Nakamura affirmed fiercely. Grant cut communication, satisfied. He refocused on the unfolding battle. Zax KYR's flagship drifted helplessly, engines sparking uselessly. Grant felt momentary temptation to eliminate KYR permanently, but held back, choosing symbolism over vengeance. Signal KYR, Grant commanded. Patel silently complied. The screen filled again with KYR's damaged visage, arrogance tempered now by seething hatred. Grant spoke plainly, voice carrying iron resolve. Niralis is off limits. Spread this message to your empire, any assault upon our allies invites humanity's full wrath. Consider today a gentle lesson. KYR growled viciously, furious yet humbled. You think you've won? Grant's gaze didn't waver. We don't fight for victory alone, KYR. We fight for those who can't defend themselves. Remember today. The warlord's image vanished again, leaving charged silence. Sir, Patel broke in softly, voice filled with respect, enemy ships are withdrawing. Grant nodded slowly, accepting the victory without celebration. His attention shifted quietly toward the scarred, brave planet below. On Niralis's surface, Commander Alara stood beside Lieutenant Nakamura, gazing upward. Human ships filled skies once dominated by despair, now symbols of protection and solidarity. Alara turned toward Kai, expression thoughtful. "You humans surprise me, Lieutenant. Ruthless against enemies, compassionate toward friends." Kai smiled, removing his helmet to reveal youthful eyes, aged beyond his years by war. "We're not complicated. Hurt those we protect, and we respond fiercely. Choose friendship, and you earn our loyalty forever." Alara nodded slowly, sincerity evident in her voice. "You honor your promises." Kai's smile broadened, warmth radiating despite battlefield shadows. Admiral Grant wouldn't have it otherwise. Together they watched reinforcements descend, carrying supplies, medics, and hope, tangible proof humanity's power lay not just in weaponry, but in empathy. Above, Admiral Grant allowed himself a single quiet exhale. Battle had ended swiftly, humanity's strength demonstrated decisively. Yet Grant knew the real challenge was ahead, convincing the galaxy humans were more than warlords. Protectors, allies, friends, this was their true legacy. He straightened, resolve renewed. "Lieutenant Commander Patel, inform all crews. Today, humanity answered Desperation's call. Tomorrow, we rebuild hope." Patel nodded solemnly, pride shimmering within her eyes. "Message sent, Admiral." Grant gazed silently toward the wounded world below, conviction shaping his every word. "Then let our actions speak louder than our guns." Smoke curled gently through the ruins of Valen Ridge, once a shining center of Niralis industry, now a cratered battlefield littered with twisted metal and scorched banners. Commander Alara walked carefully through the broken city, her boots crunching across shattered glass and collapsed stone. The wind carried a low hum, distant engines, barely audible over the slow pulse of smoldering wreckage. Lieutenant Kai Nakamura followed close behind, helmet tucked under one arm. Despite the hell they had endured together, the humans still held an easy, grounded composure. His presence was strange comfort. "Alara," he said, pausing near a half-toppled communications spire. "Intel confirms KYR's forces are regrouping 2 clicks west of our forward line. They're not retreating. Not this time. They want to erase us properly," Alara replied, eyes narrowing. "A final strike." "Probably." Kai nodded grimly. "But they don't know we're ready." She looked toward the makeshift command tent set up near the city's remains. Niralian soldiers were restocking plasma cells, working shoulder to shoulder with Terran Marines. It was an odd sight, alien and human strategies woven together into something new, something effective. 2 civilizations, once distant strangers, now fused by fire. "Come," Alara said. "It's time." Inside the command tent, tactical displays cast flickering blue light over their gathered faces. A digital map projected the terrain, ridges, ravines, and KYR's growing storm of war machines. Admiral Grant stood at the head of the table, hands resting on the edge. His uniform was spotless, his gaze sharp, but beneath that discipline, a fire waited to be released. "They're massing artillery behind the Jorith Hills," Grant began. "Shielded walkers, drone carriers, and biomutation units. KYR's pulling out every exotic weapon he's stored." Alara nodded. "Then we make sure this is the last field he brings them to." Grant tapped a control node, highlighting a narrow canyon snaking behind enemy lines. "We insert 2 strike teams here. You'll lead one, Commander. Lieutenant Nakamura will lead the other. We punch through their rear, sever comms, disable their command node, and collapse the canyon behind us. They won't recover." Captain Torin, his scales healed but eyes still weary, stepped forward. "And the risk?" Grant didn't flinch. "Extreme. But this isn't a holding pattern anymore. This is the last push." "Understood," Alara said without hesitation. Grant's gaze moved to Kai. "Lieutenant, take Echo Squad. Move at dusk. No air support once you're in." Kai gave a tight nod. We'll get it done. As the meeting ended, soldiers filtered out, double-checking gear, quiet in the way only the prepared are. Outside, the sky had dimmed. The twin moons of Niralis rose pale over broken towers, bathing the ground in haunting light. Alara stood at the ridge's edge, gazing toward the enemy campfires twinkling on the far horizon. Funny how quiet war can seem when it pauses. Kai stepped up beside her, adjusting the strap on his rifle. Stillness before impact. She turned to him. Tell me, Kai, why did Earth come? You didn't have to. You've ignored most of the galaxy's pleas. He hesitated. Because one day, we might need someone to answer ours. And because we remember what it felt like to scream into the void and hope someone cared. She didn't respond immediately, just stared at him. In that silence, trust settled. The mission launched under shadow. They moved fast, two teams cutting through the terrain with speed and discipline. Echo Squad advanced under cover of interference drones, while Alara's unit scaled the rock face above the canyon. Each step brought them closer to KYR's core. Below, the Zorlak machines towered, six-legged artillery crawlers, their cannon arms twitching unnaturally. Twisted bioforms guarded the edges, their bodies warped by genetic manipulation. This was no ordinary army, it was a monstrosity of war science, alive and always hungry. Kai whispered into comms. Visual on enemy uplink tower. 4 guards, 1 emitter. Moving. He signaled, and within seconds, 3 human operatives moved silently, dispatching guards with suppressors. The uplink tower cracked and sparked as charges detonated at its base. Simultaneously, Alara's squad detonated seismic charges along the canyon wall. The ground shook. A wall of stone collapsed behind the Zorlak encampment, sealing their exit. Panic erupted in the enemy lines. Beasts snarled. Officers shouted. But it was too late. Grant's voice came through clear. Strike teams clear. All units, fire at will. The night sky exploded. From orbit, Terran kinetic rods slammed into Zorlak armor, reducing monsters to ash. Missile trails streaked overhead, slicing the battlefield into burning segments. Kai sprinted through the chaos, grabbing a downed operative by the vest and dragging him to cover. Come on, we're not dying in a canyon. Alara vaulted over collapsed barricades, blasting 2 enemy units as they lunged. Her team pushed through the central node, planting thermal grenades. Charges set, 1 soldier called. Evacuate route compromised. No choice, Alara barked. We go through. As her team barreled through the smoke, Kai's squad emerged from the flank. Together they sprinted into open ground as the entire canyon lit up behind them. A chain of deep detonations sent a fireball spiraling skyward, marking the complete annihilation of KYR's tactical command. Above, aboard the Indomitable, Admiral Grant watched the feeds in silence. Confirmed. Zorlak command structure destroyed. Ground forces scattered. He leaned back slowly, exhaling. Then it's done. Back on the surface, Alara knelt beside a wounded soldier, her hands steady as she sealed a wound. Around her, cheers slowly rose as Niralis and Terran troops realized the unthinkable, they had won. Kai approached, battered and breathing hard. You all right? She nodded, voice soft. We held. Together. He looked up at the burning sky. KYR won't forget tonight. No, she said. But neither will the galaxy. Victory, at last, had a face, and it was human, Neuralian, united. And Zack's KYR, wherever he now crawled, had just been reminded that even titans fall when they face those with something worth dying for. The storm had passed, but its echoes still clung to the air like a second skin. The fields outside Valen Ridge were quiet, too quiet. Smoke curled upward in thin streams from smoldering wrecks, and the sky bore the bruises of battle, scorched with streaks of fire and ash. But no more gunfire. No more screams. Just silence, broken only by the faint rustle of wind through shattered steel. Commander Alara walked slowly through the aftermath, her armor scorched, her shoulders stiff. Every motion felt heavier now. Not from pain, but from the weight of what had just been done. Around her, Neuralian medics and Terran engineers worked side by side, salvaging equipment, clearing bodies, and setting up clean water units. Where chaos had reigned just hours ago, coordination now flowed with quiet efficiency. Lieutenant Kai Nakamura emerged from a collapsed trench, wiping dust from his face. Civilians have started returning to the outer zones. They're stunned, but alive. Most didn't expect to see sunrise. They wouldn't have, Alara said, voice low. Not without you. Kai shook his head. Not without all of us. This wasn't a rescue mission. It was a stand. She didn't respond right away. Her eyes scanned the horizon, as if expecting another wave, another final cruelty from the stars. But nothing came. Just dawn. Pale, uncertain, but real. From the command outpost, Admiral Grant strode toward them. He looked untouched by the dirt and chaos, but his eyes carried the same weight Alara felt in her bones. When he reached them, he didn't speak immediately. He just stood there, watching the remains of the battlefield, letting the silence settle. Finally, he spoke. Warlord Kyre's dreadnought is gone. We confirmed it. He evacuated just before the collapse. He's wounded. Furious. But for now, he's running. Alara nodded once. Good. He'll be back, Kai said. Maybe not here, but somewhere. Grant turned to face him. That's war. But next time, he won't find a fractured resistance. He'll find something that remembers. He handed Alara a data slate, tactical logs, casualty lists, reconstruction plans, communication protocols. A whole future packed into one slim file. It's not a gift, Grant said. It's a foundation. You held the line. We made sure it didn't fall. Now you rebuild it. Alara looked down at the slate. The names of her fallen officers blinked quietly. She swallowed hard. I will. Grant gave a sharp nod. Earth is sending advisors. Supplies. But we won't stay unless you ask. Neuralis has to heal on its own terms. That hit differently. There was no occupation. No claim. Just support and respect. I don't know how to thank you, Alara said quietly. Grant met her eyes. Don't. Just make sure what we fought for means something 5 years from now. 10. Longer. With that, he turned and walked back toward the shipyard, boots crunching in dust, cloak fluttering behind him. Kai stood beside her, arms crossed, watching the Admiral go. He's colder than I expected, Alara murmured. Kai smirked. Cold gets the job done. But don't let that fool you, he's the reason Earth's still standing. And the reason we showed up here at all. She turned to him. And what about you? He shrugged. I came because someone had to. And now I'm wondering if I should stay. Alara arched an eyebrow. Stay? You mean, here? Why not? We've got orbital wrecks to salvage, a city to rebuild, and apparently you make excellent war tea. She laughed. Genuinely. For the first time in what felt like years. The tea is awful. And I never invited you. But you didn't say no. A quiet moment passed. The kind only people who've survived something unbearable can share. In the days that followed, the air changed. Neuralis, once broken, began to breathe again. Children wandered cautiously from shelters, wide-eyed at the Terran soldiers now helping plant hydroponic roots in burned soil. Engineers patched power grids. Artists painted murals on the remains of crumbled walls, depictions of Zorlak monsters driven off by human steel, of two hands, one Neuralian, one Terran, clasped together. And behind all of it, the silent presence of Earth's fleet hovered above, not as conquerors, but as watchers. Guardians. Allies. A week later, at a ceremony held where the main gate of Valen Ridge used to stand, Alara stood on a raised platform. The crowd was large. Survivors, engineers, soldiers, children. She wore her armor still, polished now, but her face was uncovered. This world nearly ended, she began. Not by disaster. Not by accident. But by the cruelty of those who believe strength means domination. She paused, scanning the sea of faces. But something happened. Something no one expected. When we called out into the void, someone answered. She motioned to the rows of human Marines standing respectfully among the crowd. They didn't come because of duty. They didn't come for conquest. They came because we asked. And when they fought beside us, they stayed. Applause rose like a wave, genuine and thunderous. We owe them, she said. Not just gratitude, but partnership. A new future. One where no cry for help is ever ignored again. Kai stepped up beside her then, offering a hand. She took it, steady, sure. And the crowd erupted again. Later, as the crowd dispersed and cleanup crews moved in, Alara found herself standing alone beneath the half-rebuilt tower. Kai approached with 2 steaming mugs. Brought the worst tea on the planet. She accepted one, sipping slowly, grimacing. Still terrible. He raised his mug in salute. To peace forged by fire. She clinked hers against his. And to those who never stopped believing someone would come. Above them, a single Terran ship streaked quietly across the sky, its trail vanishing into the stars. And for the first time in generations, Niralis dared to look up, not in fear, but with hope.